On your mark. All right.
Welcome to the Denton County Collective. I'm Joe Brown.
I'm Jason.
I'm Ryan Main.
Nice. We're finally here. We're doing it.
Yeah, man. How's everybody?
Good.
I haven't seen you guys in a while. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. The Denton County Collective is in effect.
Right. I love it. So what's going on in the world today? What's interesting? I missed all the news. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I did hear that locally there's a Confederate monument being moved from Denton to under long contention, being moved to a private collection or something. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I'll tell you a few things that I'd like to see done with it, but
sure.
I am glad that it is no longer being prominently displayed as a symbol for our town.
Yeah, it's some Jim Crow bullshit. I want to see a chain and a truck and maybe like a sledgehammer is kind of the way I'd like to take it. And I think they actually made the choice to move it because they realized it's about to happen in our town.
Yeah.
And it's happening in the UK it's happening, I just saw in like Antwerp today, they ripped down some, like today, they ripped down some, slavery statue. And it's like, oh yeah.
They beheaded one of the Christopher Columbuses.
That's it. Was that in Antwerp, right?
I don't know. I saw it a few.
It's awesome.
And there's only about 7,000 more Christopher Columbus statues in the Northeast alone. So that's a good start.
Yeah. Same with the slavery statues, like the crow statues. They were arguing locally, the people that wanted it were arguing that the Daughters of the Confederacy paid for this, and it's it's to respect our fallen soldiers who risked their lives for their families. And like, fuck, you know what? Fuck you. And their argument is, if you take it away, you're taking our history away. And I heard a great Trip Waller, who's a local, I don't know, he's a local dart player, but kind of a really interesting man to talk to. He made this great comparison to Jeffrey Dahmer, and he's like, that's a piece of history that we remember and we can talk about, and we don't need a fucking statue of Jeffrey Dahmer, in our county parks.
On every corner, right?
Like, that's a good point. Like the history doesn't go away, but those statues were created as a response to, well, shit, we got to give these people equal rights and education. Like them. we have to do this.
Let's remind them their place.
When they got their 40 acres and started moving into communities, they would build those statues to say, this is ours. This is ours, and this is the guy that's going to protect us.
And this particular monument has water fountains on it still. And in the 50s, I think, the shop owners across the street where like the Loophole was and the LSA Burger would come out and beat fucking black men or women or children if they like touched the water fountain. So like,
that's one of the stories. There's also a story that one was a whites only water fountain. I don't know that we have the actual proof to back that up, that all those things are actually true. There's some debate about it. The city, maybe not the city, but some of the organizations were trying to claim that those water fountains were never even connected and that they were never hooked up to water, that they were planning to do that. But I really am interested to see. I want them to rip that shit out of the ground so I can see it. And like you were saying, I want to see sledgehammers taken to it. If I had an old beater truck and I had like a 6-point harness to mount myself into that thing, I would gladly drive through that fucking statue at 4 o'clock in the morning. And there's nobody around, and just plow myself into it and be like, yeah, I took care of it,
And to all those people that want to save those monuments, I say, go look at the Emmett Till monument. See what you can do into that,
Right. Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'll say that, like, we don't keep memories of the Holocaust all over our towns. We put them in a museum. Yeah. And I kind of think I was on the page of taking these and putting them in a museum so that we could have that memory. I don't like the idea of one day kids going, there was never slavery. You know what I mean? I kind of want them to know it, but I want my kids to know it too, right?
Right. I want them to know
I've said that about. Go ahead,
sorry.
Joe.
I want them to know it too, but I don't want a constant reminder every time you go get fucking ice cream on the square that, hey, look, we were founded on a town of people that thought this was okay at one point in time.
But if you put them all in one place, like a museum, somewhere you could visit and have those teachable moments, that's a different story.
Look, here's a tool of oppression that was art used as a tool of oppression. Look at us.
Yeah. I've always said that about the Confederate flag too. And interestingly enough, NASCAR just banned the Confederate flag, and that's so amazing. And the
Marine Corps,
one guy's quitting. NASCAR, one of the drivers is quitting, and like, so be it, man. Goodbye.
Really?
Like, no one cares, you know?
Yeah, because there's already a car that has the Black Lives Matter stickers all over it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's their only black driver now.
Maybe.
the Marine Corps, the commandant just earlier this month or late last month exiled the Confederate flag from all Marine Corps posts, Marine Corps camps. We're not allowed to wear it or to have bumper stickers or anything that it has that image on there. It's an enemy flag. It's a combatant flag that was opposed to our union, and our military is founded on it. The Navy just released information about they're doing the same thing, and that's three pretty big organizations. If you want to lump the Marine Corps, the Navy, and NASCAR together, then I feel like if nothing else has gotten accomplished so far, which I feel like a lot more has gotten accomplished with these riots and these peaceful protests.
Let's say protests. Riots is like a very small.
The peaceful protests turned into riots by police and escalated by police. Mm-hmm. Those have resulted in, if nothing more, so far, the Confederate flag being ostracized from existence. And I'm glad to see that. I'm glad that's a label of hate. That's a label of a time we should not be striving to.
Interesting side note, though. After the Civil War, black populations picked up the flag and did use it as their flag for a while. I
believe that.
Which is if there's thousands of them on the ground and they're the people that lost, you're like, yeah, look, like carrying around a guy's head on a spike almost.
Yeah, no, for sure. I hear what you're saying, as a trophy almost, and it's a. I have friends. We've got a friend in the dark community who is a black person of color, and he is one that kind of proudly wears a rebel flag and stuff. And it's kind of strange. It's jarring to see that. And I had a friend of mine who was big into Pantera and a bunch of other bands that heavy metal and Skinner. And he would wear the rebel flag, and it was a shocking thing to see this person of color wearing it. And he did that for effect. He was a brilliant musician, a troubled human being, but a brilliant musician.
Well, and I think that bikers do that too because of the rebel, just the whole word rebel, I think a lot of that happens.
I saw. Go ahead.
You brought up a good point about the military and stuff, and we had a conversation a little while ago about Mattis, and you feel free to talk about that. But it's probably a good segue to talk about maybe your background a little bit, Joe. Maybe, because you've got military background, and I don't think Jason does he?
Nope.
Jason? Yeah, I don't either. So you want to talk about that a little bit? Like where you come from? Since this episode's like an origin story, episode 1 type situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely spent some time in the Marine Corps. I do consider myself a Marine once and always.
Why? Why'd you join?
Why did I join? So I joined pre 9/11. So I had been in the college scene for a couple of years and did okay grades wise, but I definitely struggled with finding direction and finding the motivation to do the things that I needed to do. And so I thought that the military would provide me with some of that, and it did. It definitely changed my ability to motivate myself, and to, that was a galvanizing time in my life for sure. As far as what I'm capable of, right? But that was why I sort of joined. It was in February of 2000, and a year and a half later, it was a very, very different world in Marine Corps. In overnight, or over morning, I guess I should say. But it was an experience I'll never forget. And I made friends. I tell people all the time, it was the best and worst of times. I never left the continental United States. I was never deployed into combat. I never served in combat. My job my MOS wasn't one that was needed immediately. And because of that, I was very lucky. I have friends that stayed in after I got out and got deployed and had horrendous experiences and saw people die and experienced the more full, more tragic version of what I experienced. And all of them have wonderful things to say about the Marine Corps, just like I do myself. So, and right now, speaking of General Mattis, it is a spectacular time to be a Marine. Him coming out in 100% opposition of what the president is doing.
Yeah.
And then all of the support that has come behind him, General John Kelly coming out and saying that he agrees with General Mattis. And Kelly was the
Chief of Staff.
Chief of Staff, right? Thank you for the White House. And I was fortunate to hear General Kelly speak at a private function in Dallas a few months before the quarantine, and you could tell, and he was asked very direct questions as far as like, how do you feel about he had just been fired or let go from the position. And he was very respectful. He said, something to the effect of, this is still our president, whether we like it or not, however we feel about it. And so at that time, he was still fairly neutral in his stance. And to have General Mad Dog Mattis come out and say, this is not the right thing that this man is doing. It's in active opposition, and have that former, general come out and say, he's right. And have the former commandant, the incumbent commandant, say the same thing in support of we'd all need to be standing up as Americans and doing the right thing about this. It's amazing. And to see those three, and what kills me now, of course, is that I have Marines that I served with that are ignoring that are making the blanket statement of, I will not be talking about what the generals have been talking about openly. I will not pick a side. I will not come out in opposition. It's just that part of it's a little shocking, but overall, I still count it as a win. So
I enjoy looking at Joe Brown's social media pages, especially Facebook, because he's got a collective of people with completely different sides. And, I don't think there's a lot of constructive arguments that happen in some of those instances. But, I think it's really cool to hear like you just said, the guys that are like the hardcore military that have no regard to changes or what's happened, or have they're just on that perspective without any change. It's interesting.
What's crazy to me is there are a lot more moderate, people than the situation often dictates as far as what people are commenting on, because some of that's very polarizing stuff. Some of it's not. Some of it's like racism is wrong, and there's people that are going, "Oh, I'll tell you how it's not," or white fragility is a real thing, and they go, "But let me explain to you how it's not."
But all lives matter.
Oh God, yeah.
But they all matter.
Yeah.
Want to hear a crazy stat that I just learned?
Yeah,
I love crazy stats.
Yeah, do it.
Out of all the police fatalities, out of all the people that have died because of the police, 50% of them are disabled.
I saw that on the other day somewhere, and I don't
on my page.
How do I don't? Where's that information coming from?
CNN. I heard it on CNN.
Like disabilities or disabled?
Oh, mental disabilities are included, of course.
Okay. Because I'm like disabled then.
The United States Police, or is that a?
Yeah, I'll find proof of it. I just thought it was so interesting. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many groups. I know what we're working on right now, but I think if we could see this stuff as individual issues and not take it all personally, and realize that right now Black Lives Matter, and once we help them, we'll be able to move on to hopefully the ERA, maybe, and then maybe strengthen the ADA and start making real changes. And so I like this, but I think people get too wrapped up. They get too wrapped up when Black people march, and they feel like they're being called racist. And I don't necessarily
and they basically are, where it's like, semi or latent racism that they don't understand even exists. And all I've been doing recently is calling that out, and I'm going to not stop doing that.
Good.
Because people just don't, they're just like, it's like we're in Texas, right? We're in Denton County.
Yeah.
Denton County Collective in the house. And man, dude, it's just, it's rampant. Like the things that are allowed to be said in groups just people are like, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to talk about it. And that's generally what allows this like people are not allowed to say this stuff anymore a lot of times. And Denton's a really actually kind of a liberal community, and Dallas Fort Worth is more bluish liberal, a little more progressive.
It's turning that way actually.
Yeah, but there's still Denton County still votes red, right, Joe? I think the last election it went red because of all the rural stuff around us, and red, blue, there needs to be more colors, but it just shouldn't exist. And it's almost like the NASCAR thing. It's like, we're not going to tolerate this thing anymore. Yeah. People are going to get upset. It's going to be uncomfortable for a while, but I'm sorry. This is the progress has to happen.
Well, and
it's been forever. It's been for always.
It's for always, right? And we keep feeling like we're addressing it. We keep feeling like we're attacking it and hitting it at its roots, right? And we just keep coming back to the same thing, where we end up in the same situation. I feel like right now, everything mounted towards this, everything devolved toward this. Mm-hmm. And by some people's action, some people's inaction, it all became this. And it's now hopefully not going to stop until real change happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like every chance we get to actually invoke real change or to cause real change, we get complacent, we get lazy, we get tired of it, we get tired of fighting. And obviously, because fighting sucks. Fighting's fucking difficult. There's a reason that, there's a round limit to actual professional fights, that it's exhausting to constantly be working towards something that seems unreachable, and it's within our grasp. Like the three of us can sit here and all say that racism is awful.
Yeah.
But then can walk down the street and see systematic racism in effect and not be able to do anything about it.
Well, it's easy to become complacent when you're not affected all the time, Mm-hmm. My optimism about this is really like, there's more of us than there are of them. If we can continue the protests for a long period of time, let's keep it up. Let's keep it up until the vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's make some change. Let's make the Senate go. Let's turn the tide of the Senate. Let's get rid of this fuck in the presidency.
Yeah.
We got to hold on to this, and it's for the Black people. It's for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of disagree a little bit, Jason. What you're saying is let's get this taken care of, and then we'll go on to the next thing. It's like, well, this is the whole thing. This has been the thing. This has been a thing.
Sure.
For them, but
yeah, I know what you're trying to say, but it's just
Black people are 15% of the population. It should be such an easy thing to fix for 400,000 people out of 320 million. It's easy.
Yeah.
We have to fix it in big ways, but we let it get this big. As long as a problem exists, it takes to solve it. That's what I believe.
Yeah. And we're seeing good stuff happen, but we're also seeing the same, some police are making some nice gestures, which is nice and it's good. I'm glad that the NFL is saying things like, "Oh man, we made a mistake," and what? You've been on the forefront of this argument the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's good that people are changing their minds and taking their sides, because they're just doing it for the will. Because honestly, it's all about capitalism and making sure your fans are happy with you. Honestly, all these CEO emails look at how we're treating COVID. Look at how we're treating Black people. Like this is, it's some of that messaging. We need to have that, but it's almost like you can fight injustice with your wallet through like consumerism.
I believe that.
Stop buying Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby. Don't get your foam court at Hobby Lobby, Jason. Jason's talking about adding some sound stuff to his place. I told him, don't go to Hobby Lobby.
I'm not going to Hobby Lobby, that's for sure.
So you were talking earlier about the amount of people that are disabled that are unproportionately attacked by the police. And I watched a really interesting TED Talk about that very thing, and about in particular, the defund the police movement, which is poorly named.
It is poorly named.
Yeah, it is.
It's poorly named, but it's down to the kind of the roots of where the problem is with that is that we have a militarized police force that is overfunded and underprepared and undertrained and underpaid, and they are being a catch-all for all of our problems.
That's right.
Everything we have a problem with, and a lot of a problem, we have is with our amount of mentally unstable people who have no way of getting help.
Healthcare for all.
Healthcare for all is a real thing, and could save so many lives and so many livelihoods and so many instances of violence that are unnecessary because these people can't get the help they need, and it all spirals, and the community spirals with them. We feel like these people are just getting sucked down the drain, but we're all a part of the same system, going with it, getting pulled down with these people that are struggling for. That's right.
They're the first, but we're the next.
Right, and we're right on the cusp of, and this situation with the quarantine with COVID-19, I hope put into perspective for a lot more people that we're all a lot closer to instability than we are ever close to being not touched by this. There are a small percentage of Americans, of people in the world, that are not going to be touched by any of this, no matter how bad it gets. Right? They'll live in their mansions. They'll be touched by nothing that is out of their control. And the rest of us are a paycheck or 5 away from not functioning ever again. To not being able to survive or float, and our mental capacity to even comprehend that is on the verge of being susceptible to collapse, because it's they're all attached. All of our mental well-being and our physical well-being and all of it's connected as a society and individually.
For sure. But so what I want to say is, if you're racist, just go ahead and be racist if you're comfortable around people of your own color. I have fun being the minority and eating wonderful foods. My late Filipino wife made me oxtail and, chicken adobo. You're not getting that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She was a person of color. Was she also an immigrant?
Her parents came here. Right.
Okay.
So she was the first child. Yeah. Like first generation.
That's amazing.
It was awesome, and it was scary and stuff, but there's so much to learn from other cultures. It's so cool. And I think there's 2 forms of racism. I think there's that old Jim Crow racism that you have going on. And I think there's another racism that's only about 50 years old, and it's just experience. It's just some people have met more jerk Black people, and some Black people have met more jerk white people than the opposite. And I think that can change. I think what the protests showed, and I think it's a shame it took this long, was that Black people can be peaceful and march and stick together in a cause. And I think those are all stereotypes
that people fed on, that the police fed on. Like the whole, I saw a video of police putting bricks out. Like, I don't know if they were in charge of all of that. And there's conspiracy and all that stuff, but I saw videos of that.
But that
and I'm sorry, they incited
for him,
they wanted to incite, and even that video of the cop breaking into AutoZone in Minneapolis or wherever, I mean, they wanted to make it so they could use the word thug, looter,
right,
monkey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to they're trying to get the public to be like, oh, the blacks. Like I'm saying it like that. Like the blacks are just they're not civilized. They're gonna steal from their own neighborhoods, and it's like no, fuck you. Like I mean, fuck you. Like that's not what this is about. And I hate that when people are going that direction immediately when they talk about protesting. It's like really, really bothersome to me.
No, it showed me a unification I wanted to be a part of, and because I was just like that. Yeah, that's the movement. Those are good people, and that's what it showed me. The looters were something separate and planned by somebody else that I don't know. Right. But I know
the looting. I mean, there's a really good video about it. But the looting is a symptom. The rioting is a symptom. These are all symptoms. The looting is a symptom of like, why does the person want that? The video I saw, this woman talked about why does somebody, maybe that's their only chance where they're going to be able to get that thing that we've been flaunting in front of their face this entire time. It's their only chance to do that. And by the way, it's going to get taken by somebody. Why not it be that person? That's the looters. The rioters are there to fuck shit up no matter what was going to happen. They're waiting to fuck shit up, and they're going to do it. But the protesters, which is what you and I and Ryan are talking about, and what I've been more impressed by is their ability to try to maintain calm. And where I'm being, the problem I'm having now is that they're not allowed to. I saw a video you're talking earlier about how the idea that there's all these names that people can be called. And I was a friend of mine posted this video, and she's like, why isn't anybody rioting about this, this person or that person? And then she said, why are they attacking these horses? And there's this video, I think it's in London, I'm not sure, where these mounted police officers, one of the mounts throws his his rider, his officer, and she ended up getting hospital attention. But all these people are throwing things at these horses. And while it looks awful, it's an awful thing to do, to throw things at horses. The protesters, that's the argument, is that these people were protesting beforehand. The protesters didn't bring the horses to this fucking event. The horses were brought there as a weapon of oppression, as a tool of oppression, to stop these people, to scare them, to make them angry, to make them afraid, to literally trample on their rights. And the people are reacting to that. And this person in this group, who is an Army vet, or actually a Queen's Guard vet from the Royal Marines, Royal Army, and he said, these people used to be called savages. We can call them savages again. And I said, that's all I said was that's racist.
Of course,
and he said, totally. You don't agree that that this is savage behavior. I said, you didn't say that. You said they were once called savages. They can now be called savages again. That's racist. And then I took screenshots of it, luckily, and reported him to a private group of Facebookers that track down racists and track down racist behavior. And the next day, before I'd even reported any of that, I took screenshots of it while it was happening. The next day, I go back to see what had come of that, and he deleted that comment. But he had asked me another question. He's like, as a Marine, don't you see, like, what if this was happening to your Marines? I was like, well, if our Marines were doing things to provoke violence out of our American citizens, I would hope that we have problems with this. If our Marines, he said, if somebody tore down your Marine monuments as being racist, I said, if any of my monuments that are to my service branch are racist or inherently evil, then by all means tear them the fuck down, point them out to me. I'll go tear them down myself. But he was trying to argue, and I said, by the way, did you delete your comment? Because it was pretty racist, right? And he was like, no response. He shut himself down. But like, that's what we're dealing with. And this is
you did the right thing.
A career military man.
You kept asking the questions. You did the right thing. Make them realize where they are going wrong. Help a friend do that.
Right.
And I like seeing the peaceful protesting, and I think it's been effective in some ways, and I want to see it continue. But I don't think we should discount violence and protest, and rioting. Like, I don't think we should discount that, because like JFK, that quote that he has, which I really enjoy, is it's like those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable.
Right.
So that's like you said, it's a symptom cause effect type situation. Like if we continue to do this, this is what's going to happen. And there's another couple of quotes, I'd have to look it up, that are very apt about why it matters that, looting and rioting is why it's one of the greatest consequences to the problem. We can talk about that later, but
it's almost like the 5 stages of grief, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Sure. And I think that, I just don't like this. I don't like anyone like just really kind of dismissing. I don't want people to focus on the violence and the stealing and all that stuff, but it is part of what's going on. And it needs to be there. A good example of this and is Target. Like, that one of the first stores that was looted, was Target in Minneapolis. And Target CEO came on board, put something out like within a week after all that. It's like, it's okay. Like, we're cool. Like we're fine. Like we support you. And like, nice. Wow. Like, your store had damage. You probably lost, it's going to be insurance, hundreds of thousands of whatever that is. They're like, no, we're cool. Like we're on your side. Don't worry about it. And to me, that was a powerful statement. And I don't really like the idea of big business. I brought this up twice now. I don't like the idea of them like really having much sway in the matter. But it was good to see that a store that was affected being like, don't worry about it. Like, we're okay. Like, when we support you.
We get it.
I like that. And I think that like violence is, it kind of has to happen. I don't think we would have seen some of these changes without that police station being caught on fire. And I don't want to say that I support that, but at some point,
the symptom, man. Yeah.
At some point, if things don't continue to change, that might become more regular. And what I'm seeing that disturbs me the most is when we affect the pocketbooks of the public or the federal or the businesses. Like I was saying about capitalism earlier, like if we start affecting people's wallets, like they don't really care about people. They care about stock and they care about their votes and their polls, And I think that when they do something like that group was peaceful until they were attacked by police, and then they attacked the police buildings. They didn't kill police officers. There's like, you know what? We're gonna loot and riot your police precinct. Well, they kind of deserved it. I'm taking a stance here, but that's just a consequence. Like eventually someone's gonna be done, and that's how revolutionary ideas happen. Like people are pushed into a corner. We've done it for 400 years. I'm happy that this is happening right now.
450.
Yeah. I'm happy that this is happening right now. And part of it's due to the lockdown from coronavirus, I think.
We all got to see it.
Everyone's at their wits' ends. The economy is like completely, collapsing in many ways. The government is trying to bail out, rightfully so, in my opinion, and they should do more. Aside from the corporate bailout, they should help the everyday man and trickle up for once, trickle up. Like, if you give me money, I'm going to spend it in the economy. I'm going to spend it at the local stores. Like it's going to be pumped into the economy. There's an argument that 30% of the people are saving, but because they don't have any money, bailing out American Airlines isn't really going to help us, our institution of society, because there's one employer. There's a lot of unemployment, but man, what do we have? What do we have in unemployment right now? Like, was it like
1.5 million this month?
Yeah, I saw 1.15 I think today, but like overall we've seen, what is it, like 30 million or something?
And so I just want to say, like, what the Federal Reserve is saying is that they've always been able to help big businesses this way. They've had things instituted before where they had to bail out big businesses, but they've never had to do mid businesses, and it's taking a month to actually set up that program.
Right.
And that's where the problem is businesses are closing and nobody's in a rush to take care of that. And actually, what happened was they were ready to do it, but then the oil and gas lobbies, Texas, made them make changes to call them mid-range businesses.
Right.
And like so now all
LA
the
Lakers, you know,
like who is it? There's companies that are buying like large shares of shit and selling of their in the bond market, selling of their business and getting $25 billion, and they're doing just fine in this bailout, and they're not using the money. But the mid-range stuff, nobody can have that because they don't know how to set it up, and I think that's just freaking ridiculous. You know?
Yeah.
It was on a podcast today. Sorry, I listened to that.
No, it's cool. I just think that without this COVID, we would just maybe have had another, I hate to say it, like another just like, let's protest for a month and it dies down.
Right.
And we wait for the next one. We wait for the next black man to get shot. We wait for the next school shooting to happen to do nothing about, you know, like that's one thing we don't have anymore, the school shootings, because we don't have school.
They stopped.
But it's happening it's manifesting itself in other ways.
Right.
But music. Oh, nice.
Sorry.
But you know, and it'll come back to some degree, but like this is the time to change so many things. Like we're seeing I mean, there's a lot to be both optimistic and pessimistic about. Like for something like global warming, which is a big deal, right? That most people and all the scientists, besides, you know, the 1% or whatever, on some payroll, we saw through the COVID closing that the Earth is better. Like everything. Like look up there. Like the shit closed at the North Pole. I'm losing even the word for that. What's the damn opening called? Oh my God, ozone. Shit. It's repaired itself because China stopped producing the whole part of it that just cleared up. You know, like we can see in San Francisco, there was like, you know, clouds rolling in of pollution every day. Pollution's much better than it used to be, like in the 70s and stuff. But we can see it's like, it's repaired. Like you know, otters are swimming in the animals are like, oh shit, like Venice has got like octopi and like dolphins. You know, like they're like chilling out. Good for them.
Right.
And we can see it right now. Like we have the evidence. It's like if we just stop coal, stop the dirty stuff, it immediately is fixing itself. Now there's going to be problems, but like these are the things that we need to do. And one of them is racial inequity, right? Or inequality. And the other's the Green New Deal, by the way. Right. Global warming, healthcare for all, like all of these things that like, it's obvious. Like Bernie just ran on this. Andrew Yang just ran on universal benefits. We've just started that in some ways through the $1,200 bullshit and the unemployment $600 a week thing. Like we've actually implemented that, and they're all like, see, we've been telling you, and they're like, no, Joe Biden's our man. Like, oh man, status quo is our man. I really wanted everyone on that stage to say, I want to be your president. I want them to be my cabinet. You know, and down the line, everybody to say that. No, you know what I mean? Everyone wants that. Yeah. And I saw him as the Justice League to me, like all these power, Elizabeth Warren, community protection, consumer protection, you know? Yeah. And I hope it happens. And we'll see with the VP pick. And we'll see. And all of these things are, you know, going to play into who that pick is, you know, with the protests, with the a governor is a good pick because of what we're dealing with in terms of closing, and the president not wanting to take anything on personally. So he's dumping it on the governor. So now the governor is a good pick because like, these are the people actually making change in your life and doing the real leading, because we don't have a leader right now. We just have like a blamer, you know? So you're looking at a Gretchen Whitmer? Yeah. Kamala Harris is going to be that's going to be a big one pick too. I actually tweeted, I was like, in this atmosphere, thinking that independents are 40% of the voting population, does it make sense for a Cory Booker, Kamala Harris run at this time? I was like, well, you know, I like Booker a little better. A black woman would be great. A woman would be great. I mean, I really wish Warren could have won that whole thing. I really like her. I do too. Me too. Right. But Booker is the best speaker, is the most eloquent, most passionate, most soul fulfilling driving.
Why are we fighting? Yeah, I love that stuff.
I really like it. But anyway, I guess my point was where all of these things we have the ability to look at them and see immediate change in some of these areas and just could easily all go, let's just fix it. Like we know what we can do. We've seen results. We know we can do it. So I think we just need to tamp down, and that's the nice way of saying it, the people stopping the progress,
I agree.
Like we've got a president. We were just talking about NASCAR and the Confederate flag, and was it Roger Goodall? Is that his name? The NFL guy? Goodell.
Roger Goodell. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So like all these people are like, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, let's stop doing this racist bullshit. We realize. And now
we were wrong about Kaepernick. Oops.
Yeah, and give him a job, man. Give him a job.
No.
He's shaking his head. No,
he's a shitty football player.
He's a chucker. Well, Drew Brees. Okay, Drew Brees goes. If Kaepernick goes, Drew Brees goes because fuck him.
Okay,
but outside of sports, if we get
trade,
I lost my thought.
Oh my
I swear it was good.
Just get Robert Griffin. You know what I mean? Sorry. Anyway.
No, it's cool.
Don't get me into football talk.
I know. No, it would be good to have. It would be good talk to have, but it's trivial and it's not. Doesn't really matter.
I think Colin Kaepernick realized he was about to be cut and said, "Oh shit. How do I stay relevant?" And he took a knee.
That sounds I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't like that.
It sounds dismissive, and I'm not saying
I don't think it.
I'm not saying you're 100% wrong. I feel like maybe there's some truth to that, but I don't think one action was a direct response to the other.
Okay.
I just spoke at length with people in the media and people with power to be like, I'm thinking about doing this.
And,
yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's very well recorded that he got that idea from an army.
From an army. Yeah.
A Green Beret. Right. A Green Beret.
Because I know he was shut up at some point, and I couldn't find much audio of it because it was all retracted or because of lawsuits and stuff. And I'm just saying he's no Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? I love what he did, and I love the relevance he brought to it. It just I don't think it was selfless.
Well, I don't think that. I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Because
I disagree too.
He wasn't bringing light to anything.
Okay.
He wasn't standing up. He wasn't holding a sign. He wasn't waving his arms, saying, "Look at me." He was quietly taking a knee on the sidelines by himself, and the national anthem was not a televised event before. I can't think I remember how exactly far back it goes, but maybe around 9/11 they started doing it. The singing and playing. They did it at the biggest events. The Super Bowl. They would show the national anthem and they would show the unfurling of the flag and all that at the Super Bowl. But they weren't doing it at every Monday Night Football, every Thursday night game. They would usually tune in right after that and start the game up. And here's, a little pregame and some kickoff, and they'd go to commercial but they started as a recruitment tool, showing troops bringing out the flags, saying, "Hey, look what we do, and here's our proud servicemen and women, and here's the national anthem, and you better pay attention," And it wasn't like it was a very active. Stance that the government actually initiated, right? It wasn't NFL trying to do this. It wasn't them, trying to change the way it was viewed. They were being paid to show the national anthem with troops, and that's like a fact. And so the Kaepernick was doing this of his own accord, not drawing any attention to it, literally just taking a knee when everyone else is standing up. And
people will argue that that's attention, even if it's quiet, but who cares? That was what I was saying before. Like, these people are stopping progress, like the NASCAR and all the things I listed before. And you got a president saying, "Well, we're not taking away Confederate soldier names in our like he's like jumping on the side of progress." Like we just tangented ourselves from the point of things that are stopping like progress, and we could get into things like the NFL rules and they're not paid until the anthem is over, and we could get into the minutia of rules and who did what, But the point is like the progress is happening and we got to stop getting in the way of the conversation, in my opinion. And like I think we just illustrated that ourselves. Like we want to talk about these things and we want to talk about like Ali and the NFL. Like, let's talk about, they're interesting things to talk about, but you lose sight so quickly.
Yeah.
Especially as white men. Like, I think we lose sight so quickly about the whole point of things, which is why like my whole zero tolerance policy and on social media is like, I'm going to call it out. If like, I'm sorry that you're mad that people are, been looting or there's spray paint on a black regiment from the Civil War. Like I'm that's not the important part here. It's like, why do people feel the need to vandalize? Like that's the important part. So don't worry about this like the secondary and tertiary problems. Like we need to deal with the first problem. You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. At least.
Yeah.
Water looks cold until it's boiling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Never heard that. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
I just made it up.
Oh, it's got
well, write it the fuck down because that's right.
Well, it gets a little seltzery. I think it looks hot when it gets a little like pre-boil, like when like it's starting to bubble a little bit. Like
cold seltzer water.
Cold seltzer water on the stove, though. I mean, it's cold out.
No, there's context clues there. You're right. There's context clues.
Yeah,
and that could fit into that metaphor too. There's context clues, man. That water did look fucking cold, but he didn't realize it was sitting on a stove.
Right.
You didn't look at the bigger picture of it,
Look at that analogy thing happening. Cool.
I love analogies.
Very cool.
But yeah, there's times to address things, and it's way before they become volatile. Because I remember this awesome lady from Antifa climbing on the Statue of Liberty, and that got my attention. And there wasn't any violence involved in that.
I disagree with your use of the term Antifa.
They said she was Antifa. She
was
Antifa, right?
She says it. So she's anti-fascist. Then in that regards, I can say that I am Antifa because I am also anti-fascist. I am not part of any organizations. Right. Good to see you guys at the meeting last week. No, there was no meetings. I haven't been invited to any Facebook pages for Antifa. I am opposed to fascism. That woman that you're talking about, she was that protest was in regards to the children in cages.
Right.
He was protesting children in cages, and that's amazing. But I don't believe that there's an Antifa organization like we think there is. Like there is.
There's a lot of weirdness right now with that, in my opinion. Like I think. Obviously the the president is blowing that way out of proportion.
Okay. A woman that belonged to another organization that had Antifa-like values climbed onto the Statue of Liberty.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And she may have even claimed to be a part of the organization. I don't.
But I honestly support them. I support Antifa, but I don't actually define it the way that most people are defining it these days because I think it's a little bit of a.
What is it?
People are making it like, well, you're against being anti-fascist. Like they're making a statement about that. I mean, there is a loose group of people that get together. And create some havoc. And that's what Antifa does, and they're there for a reason and they only show up when fascism becomes something and they become, man, I'm sounding so violent, like pro-violence. But like, and then when people like everyone I know on Facebook is like, well, that just means just means I'm against fascism. Well, then that is true. And we should all be against fascism, by the way, boys and girls, we should all be against fascism.
Yeah. Who are the three examples, Joe?
It's a group and it's not really or it's a loose group. It's like Anonymous is like a loose group of people that are like, fuck you, we're not going to take this anymore and we're going to dox you. Which actually I have a question about. We brought it up a little bit. The whole doxing of racists in our communities, I'm kind of for that. Like, I don't think that we should be putting people's addresses online. I really don't think that because the wackos are someone could get really, really hurt.
Right.
But I am all for people losing their fucking jobs. I am all for them being chastised in a public forum and their pictures being placed. You're friends with this person. Like I've done that a couple times. Yeah. And I sent it to my family and my sister kind of got back to me, and she's like, "Is that you really think that's a good idea? Like, I don't really feel like that's a very, it's not a very good valued thing to do, is to basically dock someone." And I said, not their address, but yeah, like I think we need to call out the racist bullshit. And I think I don't like the idea of doing that for all things, of course. Yeah. I think it's something that's happening right now. People are getting fired. People are getting da-da-da. Some of it's fake, probably. Some of it's real. But I've seen it real happen in our town. That realtor agent, I saw her she's not working for Keller Williams, or I saw the owner of Keller Williams, like the marketing guy, like his last name was Keller, sent a message to someone that I know that said, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
And so sorry, people, I'm like, but like someone that was a realtor in Denton was saying some racist bullshit, like just a joke meme, like, "Oh, I thought I hit a dog," and "Oh, it was just a looter." Robert Downey Jr.'s sigh of relief, that thing, that picture. Yeah. And that lady doesn't work there anymore, and I don't know if it's directly because of that. But
I'm fine with it though. Like I'm fine.
Yeah, we got a response from the management of that real estate company. Is like, we don't support our people like this. Bring it to the local level, and both the local level and the national, executives were like, yeah, we don't support that, and they're no longer here. I think we should continue doing that, but I think we need to be careful about how we do that. Like, I want to know Jason's thoughts on this and Joe's thoughts on this. Like, I don't want to give away someone's address, because that's like asking for a hit list. Like there's like those, like there's some crazy stuff going on I've seen about like some hit lists about things I don't even know if we should be talking about it on like public things.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, Jason, what do you think about the whole doxing of the racist online and the calling them out and them losing their jobs? Like, what do you think about the
everybody has the right to be whatever they want in America, but they have to face the consequences as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like freedom of speech. You're allowed to say whatever you want, but you're not free from the repercussions of things you say.
But I think certain things should be sacred and private and held in a higher security, just as a community.
What would those things be?
I like my social security number. Okay. Yeah, my address, my phone number.
Stuff, yeah.
Because I don't like the fact that, telemarketers are messaging me. You know what I mean? I don't think that's fair. I think I have the right to privacy. I think I do. But I don't know about in this world anymore with the new internet,
neutrality.
Yeah,
thank you. I don't know. I don't understand that at all,
Yeah.
And that's kind of my point. Like that was my point. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, I like to see that, but I could see someone with my same sentiment who doesn't care about someone's, like, if this person has a daughter or a son that's a child walking to school. Like, we don't want people to get hurt or killed, or like, I'm not into that in any way.
No, but I'm okay with the local
shame them.
Racist guy that owns the bread shop. I'm okay with us boycotting his bread shop. Like, I'm fine with that. Like I'm okay with pointing it out to people's employers and saying, this is a person that represents your company. He is a representation of your ability to bring in money. Do you want that this person's viewpoints to represent your company? Because that's kind of the other part of the contract of, like, I'm going to come work for you. Okay, well, you're not allowed to say racist shit.
Yeah, I think the thing is it gone public? If it's gone public, then he has a right to be shamed publicly. But if it's just somebody that's a closet racist that sits at home and doesn't really say much, then I think you should give them their privacy if they're not out about it.
So what if you messaged me, like, not you, but like, what if you messaged me privately on something, Insta book, and I go, fuck you, I'm going to share this with all your friends and these groups that we're involved with.
That's
you're like, take. Damn those whatever's, like whatever those POCs, POS or some stupid like thing like that,
It's public, go with it.
But it's no. What if it's a private message?
It's public.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. If you say it out loud, basically.
Well, I don't know if we can argue that ousting the racist that lives next door that isn't on social media, the shut-in guy who you happen to peek inside his house when you brought him a cup of sugar and he's got a Nazi flag in his living room. Like, I don't know how to oust that person anyway, and I don't know if I would want to do that.
No, he isn't doing it to you for being a guy with a beard.
Or for whatever reason.
Or for whatever, whatever reason.
No, I still like, but,
I'm not making fun of your beard, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, you know what, I'm going to
I just think we have the right to be anything in America unless we're disagreed with by a majority. I don't know if that's quite fair to go. I don't want to go there.
Well,
I think if you're publicly proud of it, then I think you should face the consequences. If you hurt somebody with your actions, you have every right to feel that you're gonna. And
I think in the instances that we're seeing from people, it is the people who are proudly joking about. I mean, maybe they're joking or maybe they're whatever's, but they are proudly talking about like, "Yo, screw this," like. So yeah, they should be publicly shamed. I don't know. Privacy is important. Like there's a lot of, like you mentioned, like neutrality and private information and like, what is that? What was the new act that just happened? I really didn't read much about it, but the whole new, like, we're going to just read everything kind of act.
Net neutrality.
Is it that's the new bill? I mean, we've been talking about net neutrality for a long time. Like there was that new bill.
I have no idea what it is.
Is it still under that same umbrella of net neutrality that like the feds do not require warrants anymore to touch anything social?
Right.
Okay, because that was just recently passed, I think. And
I mean, should we go ahead and all acknowledge our federal agent? What was his name? Hey, buddy. Hey, special agent. What's your name? If you're watching right now, we're not Antifa. Go keep looking. But Antifa's next door.
I caught that. I started catching on. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe because we've used a couple keywords.
Maybe.
But again,
they'll be flagged for saying that we support them or something.
We're public, though.
Yeah, I got no problem saying that because this is the whole point of what we're going with right now. Like, I got no problem. My president has no problem just dismissing the lives of people, has no problem allowing the deaths of people so he can have fucking fundraisers. I'm going to be, I'll take the stage on this and I'll take this as my fault. But like, yeah, I do support that shit. I do support a little bit of rowdy protesting. I do support it because things haven't changed. So like at some point you got to up the notch a little bit. And I don't want to be illegal. I don't really want anyone to get hurt. I really don't want that to happen. But the whole point of all of this, like the Black Lives Matter movement, is that this whole time they've been dying and just no one gives a shit about it. So people only really start giving a shit when it's not Black people.
Right.
When it's a building, like when a building's more important than some Black guy. And that's the fucking problem, And so, I mean, I'm not in Anonymous. I'm not in Antifa, however you want to say it, but I do support some of their causes. I mean, I do. And I think if we didn't have a pro authoritarian president right now, we wouldn't even have them. They wouldn't even be around. This is
exactly.
It's a symptom, right? Like you mentioned before.
Right. Speaking of which,
let's not focus on the guys trying to stop the injustice. Like that's stupid. They do it in some ways that are not good. Like it's not good to just cause havoc and anarchists and shit. Like I think that's stupid. Like the people crossing state lines just so I can do something destructive and just to be part of history. Yeah, no, that's not cool. That's not cool. No, but like going to Berkeley, California and stopping KKK rallies and white supremacists. Yeah, man, you put those torches out. You punch the Nazi in the face. Like, I'm sorry. I'm cool with that. I'm super cool with that, FBI.
Me too.
Super cool with that.
I'm down for punching Nazis. I think we should. I think every American should punch a Nazi. I think if every American was willing to punch a Nazi, we wouldn't have any more fucking Nazis.
Yep.
Speaking of Nazis, did you see that the president has started? He's announced his first campaign tour stop. His first opening his campaign tour this
Jacksonville.
year.
Are you talking about?
No. He's in Tulsa.
Oh, on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Oh, so we should just say, finish that. That's ridiculous.
Nuts, man. He's having his first campaign. It's insanity. Not
in
only is
Tulsa,
it
Oklahoma.
in Tulsa, Oklahoma, home of the Greenwood Massacre, the massacre that was perpetrated by the federal government, by the Klan, by that shut down a perfectly functioning Black Broadway, a Black Wall Street. It all happened in Tulsa, and it was they built it from the ground up. And
now, is that the incident where they torched the shit too?
They torched buildings. Crop planes were used to drop dynamite or to drop
bombs.
Explosives.
Yeah.
Bombs.
Yeah.
They were aerial bombed by federal entities, by the Klan, and people were massacred in the streets. People were systematically murdered and then put in internment camps after that. Go ahead.
That was the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, I think Jason would know this definitely. That was the first time we've ever bombed our civilians in any way.
Right.
American citizens were bombed by a federal, by some sort of agent's laws enforcement.
Yeah. I mean, the Civil War, we all attacked everybody.
Oh, okay.
But actual aerial bombing, that was
I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I mean, cannons are kind of, it doesn't matter.
No, dropped from the air is different.
True that. Could be right.
True that.
Right.
But it's
but you're right. And like, that's his choice of the first on Juneteenth to do that in Tulsa. Like, you don't get to feign ignorance in a situation like that. And I think that he doesn't, I really believe that he doesn't know a lot. Like, I fully believe that he's ignorant.
But Stephen Miller does.
But the campaign knows, everyone knows, like, and everyone's going to talk about it, and they could read the news. Oh, it's fake. What do you mean it's fake? Like, you're just bringing this up. It's just a coincidence. If I would have been in Pennsylvania on this date, you would make some sort of comparison that I'm this horrible. Like, no. Like this is obviously like architected, Oh, it's so terrible. It's so terrible. And it's hate.
It's not a conspiracy to say that his speechwriter, Stephen Miller, is a racist. It's proven, right?
Yeah.
And he's the guy that sets this stuff up. So I can see Donald Trump not being as clued in as we might think he is on those details.
Right.
Because I barely knew about what you guys were talking about, that massacre, until they started saying, what, he's going to be there? So I can see where he wouldn't. But yeah, you're right. People in the cabinet and the administration and And
he's just so naive to he'll be like, oh, but yeah, like I want to have these open. Well, Tulsa will allow us. Okay, cool. Open it. Like let's go to that little, I've been out there to big concerts. Like, yeah, it'll fit a bunch of people and they'll take us, Texas won't take us. Florida, I thought Florida they're going to jump on board though and have some, the GOP convention is my guess.
Yeah, they are.
Because they're just like, they're opening beaches. Like they're just so stupid. It's so stupid.
My friend was like, the one doctor doesn't require masks and the other one does. I said, yeah, because we went from phase 1 to wide open,
Yeah. My family called me. We call once a week at least. And my parents told me about this lady who is in charge of reporting COVID statistics. And I don't know how big this story got around the country. Do you guys know where I'm going with this?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this lady her job was to report COVID statistics for the entire state of Florida.
Wow.
Okay.
That's her job. Like she sends it to the worldometers and all the things, she reports for the state.
She's my hero.
Yeah. Yeah. So she reports for your state. She was fired and now she's whistleblowing. She was fired for not underreporting. So the governor or whoever was her boss at the time, I think it's the governor she's blaming for this, or one of those cabinet members. She said she was let go because she gave the facts. She did not take away. They wanted her to take away elderly care because there's this new law that's fucking horrible that you don't have to report elderly deaths before May something. Yeah, and then Trump did it. And it's like, so it just allows the numbers to not sound as high. It allows you don't have to report an elderly person's death as COVID. And we're talking like a month ago. And so, she's like, nah, I got to report these people died. And they're like, no, like you're fired. And so this lady lost her job just reporting the truth and not underreporting to make things rosy. So their beaches, their whatever's oh God, so Bubby could go to Boca and take the poodles. Oh,
that's right.
Like, no, but it's funny. It's crazy. You guys haven't heard the story. And I heard it and I was like, well, no. And then I looked it up and I read the news and it's like, it's a more localized thing in Florida, but I can't believe that's not national news because we know that shit's starting to happen.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's just there's so much news of that like North Carolina is doing it too, and they're spiking and they can't hide it anymore.
Yeah, and they're relying all this time. They've been relying on people being fed up with it and people being tired of it, and intentionally exhausting us with the news of it. And it's something that I don't think we should be exhausted of. I think as long as people are dying, and in the horrible manner in which they are dying, we should be talking about it. And we should be addressing new ways to combat it and new ways to face it. And instead, we are banking on the idea that maybe I won't get sick. Maybe I got real good odds. I'm in great health-ish, and I'm, young-ish, and I should be fine. And it's like, that doesn't mean that it's okay just to abandon all reason otherwise, and that's what people are choosing to do. And they're willfully choosing this path of ignorance to get out and go to the fucking water park. They want to go and fill up Hawaiian Falls with swimmers. It's like, the fuck are we doing, man?
Yeah. And I think it's hard. There's so much news and things that it's hard to sift through all of it and report what's the most important. But I just pulled up this article from the Wall Street Journal, and I want to read you 2 sentences. It's the beginning of this article. It's from May 21st, 2020 by Anna Wild Matthews on the Wall Street Journal. The title of the article is Nursing Homes Don't Have to Report Pre-May COVID-19 Deaths to U.S. Officials. And this was a rule that was, I think, passed on May 8th. And the first 2 sentences, a recently launched federal effort to collect data on the impact of the coronavirus in nursing homes will leave the full toll unclear because a new rule doesn't require facilities to report deaths and infections that occurred before early May. So we've seen a lot of death and infections through May, like that was last month, so I can't believe that they're just like, don't worry about it. Like they're trying to help that industry by not reporting, so people will go and live in these homes and like they don't have to report that, 20% of the people died here from COVID. Well, we don't have to say that now when we take you through the tour, Grandma Joseph, or something. And a lot of that's just stats and, shaping the curves like we want them to be. But that to me seems like something that's not really in the news very big. And that's a huge fucking deal.
It's protecting so much more than just that in that industry. It's protecting everybody above that industry, everybody that industry reports to, that they govern, that are governed by. That is who it's protecting. It's blatantly that. It's obviously that. And what gets reported is that it's helping this industry, and that's the take, is that people are like, well, it's just so, because old people are going to die anyway. And it's like, but are they? Are they supposed to die this way right now? Is that, and by the way, even if they are they not part of the community anymore? We're not counting them because they're old now, so they don't count right. They don't count the same. And that's the argument that people are throwing around. Like, there's this fad going around of people saying, well, Billy Joe got in a car accident and died from that Rona. And it's like, you're making light of a national tragedy, of a pandemic of epic worldly proportions, and you're making light of it to downplay the stark reality that we are in a bad fucking way as a nation. We didn't do the right things. We collectively didn't want to face this. Didn't want to look this in the eye and go, okay, this is real dangerous. We should come up with a plan. We've got, Ms. DeVos, will you set up some sort of system where we can educate these children from home?
Republican.
You've got, a monster. You mispronounced the word monster. Betsy DeVos is a fucking monster, and she is trying to defund public schools when we should be defunding the police.
I know who she is. It's just you're going to name off a list of Republicans, and your audience is majorly Republican, and I want them to realize that they've been in charge for almost 4 years. You know,
right? Well, and the Senate for longer than that, and we're living in a constant state of flux where there's all this, pandering to left and right. And it's this current administration is not just full of Republicans. It's full of monsters. It's full of wrong
monsters.
Yeah. It's full of the wrong people to be for this situation.
That's how the president was able to win. Like he was like, we're going to drain the
the best people.
Get rid of all and people don't like politicians. They don't. I really want Mitch McConnell to lose his Senate. Race so bad. It's so close.
Don't get me started on Mitch.
Oh, I want it to win. Do you want him to win, or do you?
Mitch is my hero. He's my role model. What the fuck? No.
I gotta just ask you. I mean, people listening don't know.
No, I actually went and found the people that donate, the businesses in Kentucky that donated to him, and I tweeted out the list like in a thread saying these are the companies to boycott.
I mean, fuck him. Like, fuck him. Fuck you, Mitch.
Yes.
Fuck
yes.
you.
But Mitch is a member of the Tea Party. People think he's a Republican, but he's actually
just hard Republicans.
They want no government, though. That's their goal, is to diminish the value of the Senate so that we think that we don't need it.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Tea Party people. They want to burn all the institutions to the ground, not just the welfare programs,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rand Paul is another one that's like.
I was gonna say, but he's libertarian, isn't he? He's not Tea Party.
Is he? I thought he was Tea Party.
I kind of lump him. Be. I mean, now I'm being I'm saying being somethingist right now. I kind of lump them all together. It's like, oh, you're just Republican part 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah. That's what you are. But we do need new parties. Like until Obama, and that's probably half my life up to Obama. I was totally for third parties, voted for some things that probably people wouldn't like, but always voted for something that was different than the two. And I think it's important. But right now, I don't see another way. And this is an argument I have with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to take a side of one of the two colors.
Mm-hmm.
So the one color, I don't like anything that the red team does. I mean, aside from
nothing.
Well, let me finish. Like being fiscally conservative, I'm on team fiscal conservative, but they've spent more money than ever. Yes. They've spent more money in the last 50 years than the blue team, every single time. So that's not really conservative.
They have no idea how to come up with ideas. Democrats have the ideas. Republicans decide how to pay for it.
They know how to be ruthless and win. And Gingrich talks about that, and so that's what they're good at, power and okay, I'm not really into that. But when do we make the multiple parties? But I love Bernie, I love Elizabeth, and they're kind of blue. One of them was green, or whatever for a while, but we can't. I don't know when we're talking about major change. I don't know when we break it up into 11 parties would be great, but I mean we have to get rid of what's happening right now.
How about proportional?
And then this was the right wing's version of not playing by the rules and not playing the system. It's like, okay, we tried that for 4 years. Can we all acknowledge the fact that this was a really big mistake?
But why?
Why was it a mistake to elect Donald Trump?
Why did Donald Trump even become a thing?
That's what I said. I'm sorry. That's what I was trying to get at, is that the right wing decided that this was their answer to avoiding the two-party system, was to vote for somebody who was not a Republican, somebody who is not a well-spoken, diplomatic. They picked somebody who is, I can't see what that is. They picked somebody who is outside of the system, and we have it collectively. I think everyone's groaned about the fact that guy won't shut up. That he can't say the right thing ever, that he is incapable of genuine remorse or accountability of any kind. Totally. And and they're happy with it. They're still the majority of the, especially white Americans that voted for him, that are
evangelical
in that.
America.
Absolutely, because it fits their single agenda.
Because he promised the Supreme Court. That's why my brother likes him. I held up my phone. It's like he's the Black Mirror. Like he's our mirror. Like he is not.
Thank you.
He is who we are. Like we care about TV shows and we care about celebrity and fame and stick it to the man. Like I'm gonna act however I want. Bullshit. You know, like that's why he's elected. It's our fault. It's all of our fault. It's our collective fault for eating all the garbage on watching MTV Jersey Shore. I mean, it's all of that. It's a symptom and it's a reflection of us. And it's disgusting. And it's like manifested itself into this monster that's now on top of everything. And some people are still like, this is so cool. And I don't understand that in any way.
Yeah.
It's a practical
I have no sympathy.
joke.
I mean, I have sympathy for us as a society. I've got no sympathy for the supporter. I don't want anything to do with the supporter of the Trump after seeing everything. Some of it can't be proven, but he does a lot of it all on his own. Like, you know, he's been a sexist fuck about grabbing pussies all on his own. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know, that you can argue that with the 13-year-old rape lawsuit, okay, that's politically motivated. Well, then if that's your argument, then the whole Biden situation right now, that's politically motivated, you know, assault stuff. So, but he does it all himself. I don't know. He's just a horrible mirror image of ourselves.
The Republican answer to Obama. Mad as you are at Trump, they were mad at Obama.
So, and that's my thing. Like, I read this really great, and this is my like optimistic sensibilities kicking in. Obama was progress, and it was Black man winning the presidency. Eloquent, smart, Black man. It was a step forward for our society. And every time you have a step forward in society, it's a pendulum that swings. There's always a step back of progress. And I think someone talked about this really well. It might have been Obama himself. I don't know. But there's always that pendulum swing backwards. And that's where we are. And that's where Trump is. It's like that racist backlash of, oh shit, a Black man's in charge and he's doing a damn good job. Oh, I can't tolerate this garbage. Like you look at him. Like he killed someone. He killed someone with a drone. Yeah. He's a horrible human being.
He wore a tan suit once.
Yeah, he's a thug.
Yeah.
That's what Trump is. He's our backstep to that. And we're going to get over it. I just want to get over it now this year as opposed to fucking 4 more years of this bullshit because of like so much instability has been created. Now like, the positive things like Christians, I'm sorry if I'm over talking.
No, you're going to talk past the point though. It's like Trump to your anger is Trump is the practical joke, and like all of his supporters are in on the practical joke. It's like he keeps poking your nose, and you get mad, and they laugh. Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is to that, but go on. There's optimism.
No, you're right, and you're right. They like it, like, and they you know they do their it's a trolls like but that's not becoming of a president.
No,
and that's not what our president should be. He shouldn't be a tool. And let's say that his tweets. Let's pretend. Let's conspire to believe that there's someone controlling his tweets. I don't believe there is. I think the dude just rambles.
You can tell.
But let's pretend that somebody's writing that. Today he released a tweet saying about the National Guard in Washington.
Oh, the SS.
Maybe yesterday. and he said, you know, the National Guard doing a great job cleaning up the streets, and so are the police, and so are the SS.
Yeah.
And he's referring to the Secret Service.
Yeah, S period, he said.
S period. SS. And that's an acronym they don't like. They don't use that. That's not something they ever use. As a matter of fact,
why would you?
Yeah, you can't call them an SS officer. They're not going to respond well to that.
Right.
For good fucking reason. And I got irate about it and upset about it today and posted about it. And there's a part of me that believes that was a calculated move. That there's no other reason to post about that other than to throw that in there and to be like, man.
Yeah.
Well, stir the pot, and that's what he does. Division and stir the pot. I mean,
right, and that's not that shouldn't be the job of someone we put in place. That shouldn't be the job of somebody that represents us, that works for us. Right. To stir our pot. Our pot is pretty goddamn stirred right now.
Yeah, and that's the mirror. That's what his job is to be in the news, and all news is good news. And that's his philosophy, and he'll lie. It doesn't matter. As long as he's in the news, that strokes his little ego.
That's right.
I say little.
This lady was on the news and she explained it like a fire hose effect. He spits out 20,000 lies, but he's the first one to mention it. And so generally people believe it. But the alternative is called the raincoat defense. And it's where people like you and Joe here and me talk about this stuff, and we get first contact with the conversation. And then when he says something, it falls off of people. If you hear the truth before you hear the lie, you'll believe the truth.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And if you hear it 4 times, I mean, that was, Dick Cheney did a lot on that.
The thing is we all know Trump is lying, and they love it. It's a joke, Yeah. Everybody knows he's lying. It's a joke.
Yeah, but it's not a joke when you talk about wars with Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq and China and Hong Kong. It's not fucking funny, when 100,000 people die in our country, which we would have lost a lot of people, but I bet you we could have saved 20, 30, 40,000 people, something like that. Yeah. And there's going to be more. There's going to be more deaths, but we're going to lose 200,000. But that's sacred. Life is sacred, and I
agree.
I don't know. It's very frustrating.
It's the 3 inalienable rights, man, and that's what kills me about the. For a long time, my biggest beef was gay marriage. It was my polarizing issue for the reason I voted the way I did a lot of times, and because I voted lesser of 2 evils a lot of the times. I found myself in that position, and the lesser of 2 evils for me represented somebody who was voting for the good of the gay community. My father is a homosexual. Getting back to our origin story, and I'm apparently the only one giving my origin story today.
Yeah, that's true. That's
but my father, me as I found out when I was 12 years old that my dad is gay, right? And at that point in time, by the time I was of marrying age, I had more rights than my father. I had the right to marry the person that I loved, being that person was a woman, and that's where my sexual orientation lies. It's where it's what I identify as a person who is attracted to women. I could marry the person that I fell in love with. My father couldn't, right? So that was a big polarizing issue for me. And in theory, we've legalized gay marriage, okay, federally, have legalized it across the United States. And that was a huge win, it felt like. And now we have another guy in power that has people around him that are actively, including his number 2, that are actively trying to reverse that, actively trying to change that, to take that right away from my father again. How can I be anything but opposed to that system that is trying to remove my father's rights?
Yeah,
I don't know how it's tragic.
Yeah, it's horrible. And even I read today, he rolled back national park protections for baby cub bears, that now you can fucking kill them. This kind in Alaska. Because and it's I'm like, why? And they're like, sorry, it's a little tangent. I'll get back to you. Why would they do that? It's well, someone wants to go fish and camp, and they don't want to be mauled, and they want to kill them if they have to, and they want a nice rug for their ottoman. That would look really cool. A little baby fuzzy rug. You know how cute that would be to put in a stuffed animal and give to your daughter. It would be so cute. You killed it. You're a man. And now you get this little baby coat. It's so beautiful. It's fucking bullshit, man. But to what your point, my sister is a lesbian, got married when it was illegal in California, And it cost so much money to get their names changed, like so much money. And when they got divorced, they were not allowed to get married. And it cost, it was like 10 or 15 or 20, a lot of legal fees, like tens of thousands. And I remember her talking to me about that. I was like 19 or something. And when they got divorced, they had to go through the whole divorce process, and that cost more money too. And it's like, well, now I'm just getting fucked both ways, like I can't really get married, but now I got to spend all the money in legal fees and change. It's terrible,
It is.
Yeah, it's a racket.
Yeah. And it's just it's stupid. But like, and it's like, it seems like the rights of basic human, like, let's just be equal and give each other rights is like, is horrible. Like that my sister adopted when she was married, and they spent a bunch of money trying to adopt a Chinese girl. And because of some political argument that was had between the Bush and who was it at the time? Putin. I think maybe it was Putin or Gorbachev. I don't know. Maybe who was it?
China or Russia?
Russia.
Oh,
no, China. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I went to Russia. My bad. That's how horrible of me. How Asianist of me.
How Asianist of you to compare Russians with Chinese people.
So, and then like at the last minute, like she was flying out to get her child and spent all of this money, tens of thousands. And they're like, no, you're a lesbian. And we no longer allow that because of some tariff issue that we have with you. So we just rolled that back. So she had to go to Guatemala and get a child. And the amount of money that's spent when you could just have a man and a woman could just go get it for free. Oh, you're a white couple? You want a baby? Right. Here you go. Here you go.
Nothing's free, but yeah.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
fully.
It's terrible. Fully. And that's just like trying to roll anything like that back, like protections for anyone, a baby cub, lesbian, gay, whatever.
That's a shame.
Like it's stupid.
Tennessee just outlawed. Their governor just signed I think it was Tennessee, some southern state, their governor just outlawed gay adoption again, like rolled back freedoms. And
the whole Roe V. Wade bullshit,
We're going to continue to talk about homeless children and children that need homes and children that need adoption and children that need help. And then we're going to constantly, it's Roe v. Wade, 100%. We care about the fetus until it's born, and then we don't give a fuck, because the more destitute those children become, the more likely they are to fill up our prison systems, which are for profit, or fill up our armies and our military branches. Because we always need bodies, we need fodder in every direction.
Maybe.
I always thought Republicans were about depopulation, so I always liked that.
Well, they kind of are, but you have to think about, my brother, for example, is a Republican, or probably votes Republican more because he doesn't think he is, but he probably votes more Republican because he believes the Supreme Court should be stacked for, abortion is totally immoral for him. I posted a picture yesterday of a woman holding a sign in a protest, Black Lives Matter sign. It says, I just looked it up. If I hid Black Americans in my uterus, would their lives finally matter?
Right.
Interesting.
If I hid Black Americans in my uterus, would their lives finally matter?
Yeah.
Kind of what your point is, they care if it's in the womb. They care for control over women's bodies. They care about that. This is Roe v. Wade was something our society already ruled on. It's over.
We agreed on it. Right.
It's over. And everyone knows it's over. Even the people that are running, they know it's over too. They just want your vote because they're going to try to use their Bible to get your vote. That's all that is. Just one of those, what do they call those points during an election?
Yeah.
Talking point?
Yeah, but it's a
polarizing, a single issue.
Yeah, you get my drift.
Yeah.
But there's a word for that, but yeah.
And you can hear the legal arguments, Roe versus Wade, at Public Access America on SoundCloud and Spotify.
Oh, check that out. Where is that again?
Yeah. I got they got the legal arguments for it. It was kind of cool to listen to. You know what I mean?
Which podcast was it? We're doing our commercials. Is this our commercial break?
Public Access America.
That's just about
my podcast.
Jason, talk about what you've got going, because you've got a lot of cool stuff going. You've got a lot of shows that get some good viewership and some really great content historically and arts and culturally.
I was telling Joe, after my wife passed, I looked up at the TV and everybody was just as angry as I was and sad. And I heard Donald Trump, and he was talking about how Patton had dipped bullets in pig blood to kill Muslims. And I was so irritated by that because I was in a Filipino family, and George Patton grew up. His dad was an ambassador in the Philippines, right? And then so they called him back to fight in the war, and he took every island to get back to the Philippines to rescue it from Japan. And I was so insulted that I started putting moments of history up so that he couldn't lie about them, you know? And I got stuff like when Allied forces freed some of the concentration camps, you heard soldiers coming out and talking, and I was telling them about the Helsinki thing. I got that audio before the White House edited it and put it back up. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I did an episode on string theory, and I figured out string theory in like a half an hour. And I was like, it's so cool. It's like, not everybody knows all this stuff, but I think there's a divide in education. Like, poorer people don't know, they don't believe that they could learn something like behavioral science. But if I post one lecture and you get that, maybe that'll spark something. And so I love that,
cool.
You know?
That's really cool.
Yeah. My kind of nerd, bro.
I like it. I did the Women's March speeches with like Janelle Monáe, and I love her, and, you know, Ashley Nicolette, and just Andrea Ocasio-Cortez. Just, I did the squad, you know, when they spoke out against Trump together. I put that episode out there. And there's also episodes like when Bernstein recorded Trump about how he didn't like the book and stuff, you know? And so that stuff, it's just a lot of cool audio to listen to.
That's awesome. So Pig's Blood. Dip bullets in pig's blood, so they would not go to heaven or something?
I have no idea. It was a story that was a made up story that somebody told somebody once, and he heard it.
Oh, okay. This didn't happen.
No, it didn't, and that's what I was out to prove.
Okay. Because I'm like, that's first of all, I would think that muddies the gun. Like, we wouldn't want to put extra stuff in a weapon. So that's just some made up stuff.
Right.
Okay.
But
I'm like, if Patton did that, then screw Patton, man. That's
but
really
he was nowhere
nasty.
near. That's my point. He was nowhere near a Muslim territory. You know,
right.
He was fighting Polynesians and protecting that way.
Oh, it's crazy.
And I just don't like his lies about stuff like that we all can prove. It's all provable. And so I figure if we all listen to this stuff, there's one called Black. And if you want to listen to something about race, you listen to that. This lady wrote a book and she explained it. And it's all about why civil rights started and the Montgomery bus boycott and Rosa Parks and how that all started and why it started. And it's just, I love that because we're all going to go on knowing the same stuff, which means the people that listen to my episodes know what I know. And we can now discuss bigger things than stupid racism. That's obvious, right?
Right.
That's cool.
So
that's great, man.
But then I started Adam Has a Beard. I want to get that out of the way, which is a Washington State original. And we're trying to talk about some of the stuff that's coming up, you know, in Washington. It's more of a local based podcast. And I think that's interesting.
Good.
And then we've got Denton Community Collective happening now.
Denton County Collective.
Oh, geez. Denton County Collective.
Denton County Collective. Yeah.
Growing baby steps.
That we, and you know what I like about you guys is like on Adam's show, I'm like, stop with the conspiracies. But I come over here and you're like, hey, stop that.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about conspiracies.
Oh, I don't either.
And I understand that there's a reason those conspiracies exist, and we can talk about the fact that there exists a conspiracy and we can depict why those conspiracies exist, but we don't need to delve into them or make them any stronger. And that's what I don't want to give any power to that. Like I don't want to give any power to like the Alex Joneses of the world, and that's that. It bothers me that guy has a following. And it says a lot that guy has a following and that he has a. And what's funny is I really enjoyed. Have you ever seen the movie Waking Life? Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, it was filmed by a Denton guy, actually. I knew a friend
by an Austin guy.
Austin guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I knew a buddy in college and art school that was in that movie from Denton.
So you haven't seen it, Jason?
No.
It's a fantastic movie. I suggest it. It's called A Waking Life, and it's amazing. It has some cameo appearances by a lot of different people.
I love those movies.
It follows this waking dream that this person is having, and everybody takes from it a little bit different things, and there are parts of it that are greater than the sum of its whole.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, but it revolutionized a whole form. Like they created an entire form of animation for it. Like they animated over live footage, and they created computer programs that didn't exist before that movie to solve the problem of how to do this in a time.
That's cool.
It's a work of film art, and there's deficits and it's got problems, but it's a first of its kind, and it's cool that it's local. And you're right, it's awesome. And it's the major criticism of it for me, which I kind of like to say about it, is that it's kind of like talking to if say you're on a date or you're at the bar, it's kind of like listening to a freshman philosophy student speak. Like he thinks they know everything, and probably one of the honors philosophy students that are freshmen or maybe sophomore, like they know a lot and they could talk about, they can know a lot, but it's just like they know it just kind of has that like intro to philosophy feel to it. So the conversation is a little bit ridiculous in some ways, and that way it doesn't dive into really deep stuff, although it sounds like it's real deep. That's my criticism of that movie, but it's a piece of art.
Yeah.
It definitely isn't.
There's a segment on there where a younger Alex Jones is driving around in his car and he's ranting like he does so well. And that's a lot of what it is. It's a lot of these cameo appearances. Yeah, it's him in the car going, "Lay down,
shit!" That's him. I didn't even know that.
It's my favorite speech in the entire freaking film, and it's Alex fucking Jones.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a reason that he is so popular, and it's because he's charismatic and he's well spoken, and he's able to string together a series of thoughts that make some sense.
Yeah.
But that's the problem we're talking about with conspiracies. But that movie has some of the most brilliant minds, especially for Austin, Texas, of our current times, are involved in that film speaking.
Yeah.
And they're all speaking like Brian's saying, little parts. And there's some very actor driven parts of it too, with like Ethan Hawke and some other people in there that are little cameo pieces that are fun too. But the majority of it is people speaking off the cuff about the things that they know about. And it comes across as this like you said, maybe a sophomore. It comes
across as uppity. Academic uppity, know-it-all.
Right. And
but Waking Life, check it out, Jason. Check it out.
And for all of our
and listeners too,
viewers. Yeah, that's right. Check out Waking Life. It's wonderful.
I love it.
Sure, I bash it, right?
Yeah, I love it.
and see a young Alex Jones in his
totally forgot that I never knew that was him, but it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Like we're talking 20 years.
Kills me that I quoted him. I think when Facebook first started, like that may have been one of the first quotes I put up as a post. It was that Alex Jones speech, or I'd quote little pieces of it because I think it's very soundbiteable.
Mm-hmm.
But now, and it took me years to find out that that's who that was, and I was like, "Oh fuck, no! What am I doing? Oh, shame on me."
Totally. Oh man, things change, and then you see him now, like going to the open Dallas protests because we want to go get our hairs did. Wasn't that the protest he was at? Like let's open up because you guys are just stupid. And yeah. What do you guys think about this whole
Hey, what time are we at?
Oh, we probably are running out of time.
What time is it?
This was the Joe origin story.
We have endless time.
We do. We can break it up, but at the same time, like I think
you're at 2:15 right now.
Yeah, we should probably call it and do.
Yeah, and next time let's focus on the Ryan origin story.
Oh,
whatevs.
I can't wait to hear the Ryan story.
I just want my voice right now to be my origin.
Okay.
My origin. No, that's cool. We'll talk about stuff.
Yeah,
we'll talk about stuff. So let's wrap it up.
I think you got a couple episodes right there, maybe.
Now this is our test still. Was I supposed to hit record? I hadn't. I thought this was our test. I never hit record. Did you hit record, Jason?
You never hit record?
I totally did.
Yeah, I know. It's recording.
Oh God, sorry.
Do you want me to stop it though?
Shenanigans. I can stop it.
Oh, hey, can you?
Hey, let's say goodbye. Let's say goodbye to whoever's listening.
I love you.
You listening?
You're right there.
Say you're important to the world, and you should vote, and you should focus on the things that you want to focus on, because this is your one time to live, and it's very, very short. So we love you, and thanks for listening. That's what I have to say.
Love you guys. Be safe.
See ya.
Love you, Denton.
God is an American. God is an American.